Good day, friends. Welcome to Coffee Break. This is Dr. Michele Alignay. It's a wonderful week. It's Valentine's week, and I would like for you to get your coffee, sit down with me, and let's talk about how do you love thee? Meaning, we're going to talk about love languages or how you show love, how you show affection, how you show your loved one that you really love them. So, masarap tong usapan na to. Basta usapang love, usapan ng relasyon, yan yung masarap pag-usapan. Diyan tayo magiging marites. Diyan tayo makikialam. Pero alam nyo, marami ayaw harapin yung problema. Gusto lang nila being in love. Gusto lang nila kinikilig, ligawan, all good. But when it comes to really loving, to having that selfless love or having those sacrifices, extending effort in good and in bad, pag may problema na dyan tayo nagkakasubukan, friends eh. So, get your matapang na kape and sit down with me so we can just reflect about how do I love thee, speaking love through the love languages. So, I'm going to have this conversation with you this Tuesday, and on Thursday, we're going to continue that. Ang gusto kong tanungin sa mga listeners, for those of you who are here already, have you heard about the love languages? Have you heard about it? When did you heard about it? Are you using love languages? Ginagamit mo ba to? Nagamit mo ba to? Or you think it's gonna work for you? So, please put that in the comment section. Kwento ko sa inyo how did I learn about the love languages. I heard about this way back nung uh, mag-boyfriend pa lang kami ng aking husband. Way back. So I guess that was about 1999, o di ba? 1999 or year 2000 when I first heard about love language in a talk by no less than Brother Bo Sanchez. It's his monthly gathering. Monthly gathering pa lang yun, the feast. That's the gathering of the community, Light of Jesus community, there in Teatro Aguinaldo. So nung narinig ko sa kanya yung love language, it has actually unlocked so many things. And mamaya kikwento ko sa inyo kung paano. But, if you heard about the love language, tell me saan nyo siya narinig at paano nyo siya narinig. So, please put and comment at the chat. Tayo ang mag-usap. Tayo yung magkaroon ng discussion. Because in our loving relationships, we have differences on how we show love and how we long to be loved. Actually, this love language is based on a study and a book by Dr. Gary Chapman. So, ang dami nang naging evolutions yung book, Love Language for Kids, Love Language for Teens, Love Language in the Workplace. But let's stick to the basic. Let's stick to it as a guide. This is the disclaimer that I would like you to reflect about. Let's use love language as a guide to love, but not the absolute measure of showing our love. I'll repeat that. Love languages are good to know as guides, but not our actual, absolute way of loving. So tingnan natin kung paano natin ito ma-apply. Ang una kong tanong sa mga nandito, how do you show love to your loved ones? Yan. So if you're familiar with love language, and then so be it. But if you're not familiar with it, let me know what you think about it. When you first heard it, ay ano yan? So as I said earlier, in loving relationship, the premise of the love languages is that we have differences. Lahat naman talaga tayo iba-iba. Iba-iba tayo kung paano pinalaki. Iba-iba tayo kung paano pinakitaan ng pagmamahal, inaruga while we were growing up. So personality-wise, we also have our unique inherent characteristics. So that's nature versus nurture. And I would like you to reflect that love language, it's technically the way a person would show love and a way a person would want to be loved. So those are two things. And in the premise of love language, it was said that if people, let's look at it in the eyes of couples. So married couples, pag kayo daw ay aligned, consistent, the other one is speaking the other language. For example, ito yung language ko and my husband is speaking my language, there's more relationship satisfaction. Or I learn also to speak the language, the way my husband gives and the way he receives love. If I learn to speak that, there will be relationship satisfaction, which is quite obvious, but actually it's also a way for us to boost the relationship. Not just to be satisfied, but actually for me to show that we really love. So, it's already 1 o'clock. Ngayon pa lang nag 1 o'clock. I hope the friends who are here tell us about what you know about love language. So, the first thing, one thing is that sometimes hindi nyo ba napansin? Resentments, complaints, and misunderstanding happens, making us feel less loved. So, alimbawa ganito. Um, Valentine's Day, kaya I think it's very fitting for this week. Who among you were ever disappointed in not receiving a card or a text message man lang that you are important, you are loved on Valentine's Day? Okay, meron akong maliit na chocolate, may natanggap ako. So, who among you were ever offended na wala man lang nag-greet sa akin, especially itong taong to na mahal ko by your partner. So it might be that we have some sets of expectations because in our psyche, that might be the way that we understood that we are loved because it's obvious to many of us. Pero the reality is that sometimes because our partner, dun tayo muna sa partner ngayon. Mas maraming mga hugot ng mga tao sa ganyan. Um, our partner has a different way of loving. Kaya there will be resentments kung hindi nagmamatch. For example, I will naman express my love to my husband. Sabihin ko sa kanya, I really appreciate what you're doing. Pero sabihin lang niya, yeah, but he's not going to say thank you or that I really appreciate you telling me. And then it might be offending for me. Kasi ang dating sa akin, ina-affirm ko na nga siya, hindi pa ba niya na-appreciate? So, ako naman, ako naman, yung love language ko is that I feel loved also whenever something is given to me, a chocolate or something, and that alone is parang I thought of you. That's an expression of that. So, the tendency is that since yun yung kilala ng pagkatao ko, pag wala akong natanggap na little something, it's actually a reason for me, it's a probable reason for me to be resentful, to be frustrated. Pero Valentine's Day, hindi naman nababago sa kalendaryo. Wala akong natanggap. Or, I don't know, friends, if you would be able to relate with what I'm saying. But, look at it. Language. Yung isa, ibang lingwahe. Yung isa, ibang lingwahe. Hindi magkaintindihan. So, pag hindi kayo nagkaintindihan, what happens? What happens, friends, pag hindi kayo nagkaintindihan? Nagkakaintindihan ba tayo? Do you understand what I'm saying here? So, am I connecting with you? Kung nagkakaintindihan tayo, friends, alam ko marami na kayo nakikinig sa akin or baka you still have a post-Valentine uh, hangover. Please put here in the chat, I want to feel loved. Can you put that in the chat? Sa mga nakikinig dito at nagkakaintindihan tayo, I want to feel loved. If you know the language that I'm speaking about, the language through the love language, put that in the chat. I want to feel loved. Why? Because at the bottom of all our frustrations, at the bottom of seeming differences between the two parties, meaning you as a couple or maybe even your family members, the real deal here is that you want to be loved. Hindi ba? Gusto natin maramdaman na minamahal tayo and then yun talaga yun. We want to love and to show love, but at the end of the day, we also want to feel that we are loved. Are you getting what I'm saying here? So, come to think of it, each of us, either, let's look at it as partners, as couples, and of course our children, has our own expectations or maybe inherent expectations, maybe also hindi na naman natin sinasadya yan. Na ito yung gusto kong way mong pagmamahal. It's just that it's part of who we are already. We have our expectation and ways of expressing love due to how we grow up and our unique ways and preferences. That's what I said earlier. Oh, thank you, Lourdes, for saying that I want to feel loved because we all want to be loved. Tama ba? Another is that I would like you to consider. that in looking in how do I love thee, in expressing our love for each other, we would like I would like you to reflect that we look for guides and love language. The five love languages that I'm going to explain is actually this model. We call it a model. It's a good model for us to show love and to receive love. But please do not make it absolute. Ibig sabihin, hindi natin siya gagamitin na, ito ako. We don't define our love, our ways of loving, our speaking, showing love just because of the love language. But what we do is that we use it as a guide. It's good to know, it's good to apply some, but there are days that or there are circumstances na hindi ito applicable. So are you getting what I'm saying here? Another, we complement our lives with it. We complement our lives with it na parang, okay, for this, for example, special occasions. Yes, it's good to know that you have love languages, na meron love languages, pero ano naman yung pwede mo pang idagdag? So we don't get limited by it. It's not a way to box us, but it's a tool to express and affirm loves. So, wag natin na ikahon lang na, ay, gusto lang yan regalo eh. Parang, well, I just would like to make this as disclaimer. It's good to use this as a tool to show and express love, but do not make it an absolute way na ito ka lang. Eh, regalo lang naman ang gusto mo, so okay lang sa'yo na hindi kita sabihan na you are important, okay lang na I don't spend much time with you as long as I give you gifts. It's not how it is. It's supposed to be for me, these five love languages that I'm going to explain to you, dapat consistent pa rin yan. Dapat tuloy-tuloy na pinapakita natin yung pagmamahal natin in all those languages. Yun nga lang, may isa, in the words of Dr. Gary Chapman, merong isa or one or two primary language. And that's what sets us apart. The more that we're able to identify our primary love language, the more that we feel love is if this is spoken, if this is used by our loved ones. Are you getting me? So, what are the five love languages? For those of you who are here, ayan, tanungin ko sa inyo. Kung kayo ay familiar sa love language, ano yung lima? Hindi naman ako nagpapatest dito. Pero ano yung lima? At kung meron na kayo at na-identify nyo yung favorite or preferential love language nyo, can you put that in the chat? How do you want to be loved? How do I love thee? Doc, how will we know about our love language? Later, I'll explain that. So, dun lang sa meron ng mga ideas about this, please put that in the chat. Okay. Moving on. I'll mention here the love language. Wow, cute naman yan. Thank you, Lourdes, for the stars. Meron pang pink heart. That's so cute. Bouncing heart. Thank you. So, yan, love language yan. Gifts. Digital gifts called stars in Facebook. So, thank you, Lourdes, for that gift. So, the five love languages, sorry, according to Dr. Chapman, are the following. One is time together. The second is giving and receiving gifts, like digital gifts called stars. Another is words of affirmation. Yan. Do you give words of affirmation? The other is acts of service. The other is physical touch. So itong limang to, ulitin ko ha, alin dito yung madalas mong matanggap? Alin dito alin dito yung madalas mong matanggap, alin dito yung sa tingin mo, you will feel more loved if you do this. May nagka-comment, I feel love through words of affirmation, but I show my love through acts of service. Ang galing mo, Mr. Kutz Alignay. Salamat ah. You feel love through words of affirmation and affirm you for being a great husband. Thank you. So, the first one, as I said, is time together, giving and receiving gifts, words of affirmation, acts of service, and then physical touch. And then I'm going to go through those five and the tips that we can explore on Thursday. But now, let's just reflect about the guides. Why do we need the value of speaking our loved ones' love languages? Why is it important? Kayo sa mga nakikinig, mga nandito ngayon, bakit sa tingin nyo mahalaga na gamitin natin kung ano yung lengguwahe nung mahal natin sa buhay? So kung waray siya, magwawaray ka rin ba? Yeah, I think it's something similar. If he's speaking in Greek, and then maybe you just learn the basic Greek words so that you can communicate better, isn't it? Because a lot of couples, a lot of families, a lot of people in relationships become disengaged, becomes disconnected and not in sync because they have different preferences. They have so many differences and magkaiba na nga sila, they won't speak the same language. Are you getting it? So now, we know that the first value of speaking and showing love to our partner, the value of speaking the language of love, we know that our partner is intentional in showing love. Yun, mahalaga yun eh. Alam natin na, okay, kinilala ako nito. Ay, alam niya na ito yung way ko. For example, with my husband, sabi niya, words of affirmation. Alam niya na, alam ko na mahalaga sa kanya yung words. So, while I am affirming, and I always commend him for a job well done or the little acts of love and service that he is giving, it's nice to continuously do that because even though that it's not natural or for us, for the partner, for the other person to express that language, it's not natural kasi meron tayong natural tendency sa isang lingwahe. It's like what Sherry here is saying. I think because I will be expressing my love in a way that they understand best. Yes, it means that we are intentional with our love. Gagawa natin ng paraan kasi gusto natin. It's radically loving. Mas radikal ang magmahal. Mas intentional ang magmahal. Ito yung, okay, kikilalanin kita, gagawan kita ng paraan para we can actually work on the relationship. We can make the relationship better. I hope that that makes sense. This is the first one. The second, for me, I consider it that that's the essence of tuning in with each other. That these ways of speaking the other person's love language, it's actually a way for us to tune in. Ano ba yung tune in? Parang you're on the same frequency. You're listening to each other. You're on the same frequency. You speak to be understood instead. You speak to each other to be understood para magkaintindihan, understand the other, listen and listen to, and love and be loved. I just remember my husband got this RC radio. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. For those people in my generation, alam niyo yung ating tinatawag na walkie-talkie. So he got that radio for the house. And the funny thing is sometimes may frequency nagkakamali ng dial, tapos may frequency na hindi nag-a-align. So we cannot contact the kids upstairs or sa kanilang room kung magkaiba yung frequency. And that is exactly, I believe, the essence of love language. Couples, families, people in relationships are supposed to be in one frequency. Kasi pag napihit nila sa ibang frequency, ibang tao yung makakakonekta or pwedeng marinig sila pero hindi naiintindihan kasi may nag-i-interfere na ibang signal. Am I making sense? So that's one. That is actually the essence of tuning in. It's actually making the other person feel that I understand you, I listen to you, and because I love you. Okay. So third, greater chance that if give a well, this is what Dr. Gary Chapman said that speaking the other person's love language has the greater chance that if giving each other what one needs, pag binigay mo kung ano yung pangangailangan ng iba, the more chances of feeling love and maintaining love. Oh, I think that that makes sense also. The greater chances of maintaining love. Because honestly, relationship needs to be worked on. And we use the language of love the love languages to be able to continuously work on the relationship. Gagamitin mo siyang way para you continuously build on the relationship. Um, Yesterday, I was in a forum, and I was in a forum for a private organization, for a company, and I was joined in the forum by no less than, for people in my generation, I think you would know him, by Mr. Joe Damango, uh, the the love notes of the 80s and the 90s. Okay, and what he said about me keeping the fire burning in the relationship is actually true. That he said na para siyang hindi pwede na pag nagpabaga ka ng apoy, for example, in a bonfire, pag nagpabaga ka ng apoy in a bonfire, mag-automatic na mag-aapoy na lang yan and it will keep you warm and fuzzy. You need to continuously take care of the fire so hindi mamatay yung fire. 'Di ba sa Tagalog, lalagyan mo ng gatong, you put more logs, tapos minsan sobrang lalakas yung fire, minsan naman masyadong hihina, pero hindi siya kailangan automatic na mag-fizzle out or mamatay. But, and that act of actually putting logs, it's actually an act of service. Meaning there's effort. Because there's the intention na ayokong magkasawaan kami. Ayokong makalimutan kong pahalagahan itong taong to. So yun yung essence nun. I would like to keep our relationship not easy, but connected and loving. And so kahit na ang daming nangyayari sa buhay, kahit na hindi madali ang buhay namin, I would like to continuously work on our relationship. And that's why it's the greater chances of showing love for each other that's working on the relationship. So that's the third. And fourth, more chances of connecting and conversing and getting to know yourself and your loved one. Ay, totoo yan. Imagine there are 5 love languages. And if you are adults like me, so let's put it in the context of a married couple or, yeah, of mag-boyfriend, na it's more chances of connecting, conversing, and getting to know each other. Hindi ba? Mas makikilala niyo yung isa't isa at nakikilala niyo yung sarili niyo. So friends, actually, if you are not familiar at all with the love language, it's a good way for you to know yourself. And you will be reflective na, kaya pala ako ganon. Kaya pala dati binigyan niya ako ng ganito. Parang wala lang. Kaya pala dati, excited ako pag sinasabi niya, come on, let's drive around. Come on, I will do this for you. Kaya pala. So that is a reflection of you being more self-aware, and that's a reflection of you also getting to know the other person. So being a tool to continuously love, the love language is a good way for you to connect, to converse, and to get to know each other. And I think yung bonus doon, hindi lang makilala yung taong mahal mo. Mahalaga rin talaga at mas mahalaga sa lahat, kilalanin ng gusto yung sarili. Yun yung pinakamahalaga. So, how can I will just give you guidelines. Next Thursday, as I said, I'm going to go over the 5 love languages, but I'll give you guidelines on if ever you're going to talk about it, if ever you would like to explore more about the love language, that how do you want to be loved in any language that you would like to speak. These are the tips and these are the guidelines that I will give you. The first one, check and identify what your partner does to express that he cares or she cares. Check or identify, alamin mo kung ano yung ginagawa na niya, existing na ginagawa niya, na pinapakita niyang mahal ka. Yung bang paggawa niya ng coffee for you in the morning or during lunchtime, yung bang pagsa-set up niya ng workstation mo or paglilinis ng workstation mo, yung bang foot massage na binibigay niya sa gabi, is that a way to express love? Probably yes. So if you would like to get to know your love language and your partner's love language, I know that there's a website of lovelanguage.org or .com, and then you can have a check. You can actually have that self check on that website to be able to know more. But it does not end there, because also, while it's good to have a checklist, it's good to reflect. It's good to reflect, applicable ba to sa akin? Ito ba talaga ako? So it's actually just a tool for you to deepen your knowledge of yourself and your loved ones, as I said earlier. Then, so the first thing is identify what your partner do to you to express that he cares. The second is that uh, recognize this action. Sabi, parang mas maganda na, ay, pag pala sinasabihan mo ko ng na kahit na yung mga pa-cute quotes mo sa akin sa umaga, salamat kasi parang it reminds me that you remember me and then I am loved. 'Di ba? Kahit na napakaliit na bagay yung binibigyan mo ko, nire-ready mo yung coffee ko or yung water ko, it means a lot to me. Thank you, mahal. Thank you, my husband, for preparing my coffee for a coffee break. So that it means a lot to me. That's recognizing the action. Wag lang yung wala lang, obvious naman yan. Obvious naman, baka naman may hinihingi ka lang. No, because it might be, it's really, it takes an effort for the other person to do that. And then, the third one, wait, the next one, identify what you are doing consciously or maybe out of habit. So, hindi lang yung partner mo. Ikaw rin, ano yung ginagawa mo to make your loved one aware that you show and you care. That you show that you are showing love and you care. What is it that you do unconsciously or out of habit? Kasi minsan baka ginagawa lang natin dahil feeling natin kailangan natin gawin. But actually, if we put more love into it, and we put that intention that I do this because this is how my partner feels loved, or this is how I show love. Uh, and then those unconscious or those habits that we have already, we just might realize that, ay, ito na pala yon. Ito pala yung pagkakataon ko na ipakita na mahal ko siya. So, that's another. And then the third, ask your spouse or child. Ito, favorite ko to. What do you need, or what do you want me to do to make you feel more loved? This is a question that I personally ask my husband and my kids. Like sometimes I'll tell them na, okay, what is it that you need me to help you with? What is it that I can do more to show you that I love you? Or what support can I offer you? Yan. So those are things. So meron ka na dyan words of affirmation, meron ka pa dyan service. Kasi may gagawin ka para dun sa tao. But it's another way for us to connect again and to get to know the other person para mas maintindihan natin sila. Hindi lang basta mag-a-assume. Mag-a-assume na alam mo na yun eh. Alam na niya. Alam nyo, sa dami na nag-assume sa relasyon, hindi ko alam kung kumusta na sila ngayon. Kasi we can just always assume, but what if the person goes? What if the person do not really feel it? Because they just do not speak the same language as we do. So let's not assume. Okay? And then number 4, express your own love language and your preferences. Yan. Kung kilala nyo na yung sarili nyo at alam nyo, ito para sa akin, ito yan. Ito yung way ko to show love. Ito yung way ko that I feel loved. Express your own language. And then maybe you can share it. Alam mo, pag ginagawa mo to, ito yung way talaga naramdam kong mahal mo ako. Yan. So, you affirm. You affirm what happened. Or, maybe sometimes we can actually give the feedback na, I really appreciate what you're doing. Moving forward, the more that I will feel love if this is done for me. Yan. Ang ganda. Huwag naman natin sabihin na, ano ba yan? Mahal mo ba talaga ako? Pero hindi ko naman to feel, mas bet ko yata yung isa mong pwedeng gawin. So, I think medyo kailangan nating i-refine yung words kasi words can actually hurt, and lalo na kung words yung language ng isang tao, nung partner natin, like nung partner ko, it can actually hurt. And then the last, Be grateful and appreciative of each other. Either in speaking the love languages, we can be grateful in words, we can be grateful again, add service to it. We can be grateful by expressing it through physical touch, like giving them a hug and then saying, I'm so grateful for you. And maybe this still the Valentine's week, we can actually share that I'm grateful for you by sending them something. Mas mura na yata yung bulaklak, or maybe you can get his or her favorite chocolate or favorite drink, something that will just uplift the person and then say, and then remind them that we are actually grateful. And also, you can actually show the person that you're grateful for them and you're appreciative of the effort that they're doing to show that they love us. Diba? Ang sarap pag-usapan ng pag-ibig, mga kaibigan. Hindi ko alam kung bakit hindi kayo nagko-comment. Ang dami nyo dito, pero hindi kayo nagko-comment. I don't know kung ninanamnam nyo ba tong sinasabi ko. Are you reflecting? I don't know, but I just hoping that you are being blessed by what I'm saying here. So, this is about it, and love language is actually very replicable. How do we love thee? It's not love languages. It's just not limited to our partner. It can actually be a means to show your parents that you love them. It can actually be a means to reach out to a brother or a sister na 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 alam mo na kailangan mo i-work on yung relationship. Ayan, nagre-react na yung mga tao. We are taking down notes, Doc, or internalizing. Very good. Thank you for that. Thank you. And then lastly, love language is actually applicable to our children. So, whomever or however you will apply it, use it as a thoughtful guide to really show love and your intention on how do I love you thee. It's not counting the ways, but showing the ways through the love language. So I hope that you learned something. This is my last question before I end, and we will continue this on Thursday. Sa tingin mo, friend, ano ang iyong love language? Ikaw, hindi yung paano mo nararamdaman na mahal ka ng mahal mo sa buhay ng partner mo, ng mga kaibigan mo, or ng mga significant people in your lives. Is it time together? Is it giving and receiving gifts? Is it words of affirmation? Is it acts of service? Or is it physical touch? Alin dito yung mas nag-resonate? Yung mas may impact sa'yo? Magandang pag-reflectan niyo yan. So para pagbalik natin sa Thursday, don't forget that we'll meet again at 1 p.m. on Thursday. You can actually replay this episode. You can share this to family and friends via YouTube and Facebook or even Spotify. When we go back on Thursday, when we come again on Thursday, let's tackle the ways how on showing our love languages. So paano natin ito magagamit? Paano mo i-apply? At paano natin mas maintindihan yung time, gifts, words, service, and touch. I hope this coffee break is helpful for you. It's not the end just because tapos na ang Valentine's. Ibig sabihin, titigil na rin tayong magmahal. Hindi. The more that we need to work on our relationships each day, because sa dami ng I think burdens natin, sa dami ng challenges that we're encountering, I think that we would rather spend time showing love than fighting things, than sa dami ng burdens natin, the world becomes better when it's shared with a loved one. So keep working on your relationship, friends. This is Coffee Break with Dr. Michele Alignay. Share this live cast. Share also your love for me by supporting me through Facebook stars here in Facebook by sending Facebook stars, or you may actually support this by sending an email to get our Gcash details. So that's about it. I hope that this bless you. See you again, friends, on Thursday. And we hope that you love right and you love true. God bless everyone. This is Dr. Michelle for Coffee Break.